Hello, my name is Saif, and this is a review for Cmap8, which is an algorithm for a graph. Now, the problem definition is we need to create, traverse, and represent a graph structure in C++. The key concepts are edge and vertex representation, graph traversal, depth first search, adjacency list, and graph. And for the graph part, we've got implement traversal algorithms, define DFS function, which is marking the visited vertices and recursively visiting adjacent vertices. Implementation details, we've got simple, undirected, unweighted graph. Traversal marks each vertex as visited. BFS implemented iteratively. Graph represented using an adjacency list, and DFS implemented recursively. Steps to solve this problem, we've got defining the graph structure, creating an adjacency list, adding edges to the graph, and finally defining a BFS function algorithms, which is basically defining some or implementing some the queues to visit the vertices. That's a kind of big code snippet of how this whole thing works. Now moving on to explanation of the program. We've got a graph class definition, graph env, and add edge unv. The graph part initializes the number of vertices and resizes the adjacency list. This section adds an undirected edge between vertices u and v. And for the BFS traversal, we've got initializing a visited array using a queue to explore each level of the graph. Visiting adjacent vertices, marking them as visited, and enqueuing them. For the DFS V visited, what it basically does is it marks V as visited, and it recursively visits all the unvisited adjacent vertices. But this part, the DFS traversal, it initializes a visited array and calls the recursive DFS util function. Finally, for the main function, it creates a graph with 5 vertices and it adds edges between specific pairs, and it performs both DFS and BFS starting from vertex 0. Now the main function, when I say main function, it refers to the main function that should be implemented or used with this code right here. Thank you so much. That was my presentation for Cmap8.